Hello. Thank you all for joining us today for our virtual event as we share the latest innovations in B9Creations technology. I want to take a moment and introduce you to the guests that we'll have sharing information with you today. I'm Danny, Marketing and Communications Director here at B9Creations. We also have with us Eric, our Product Manager, Cody, our Sales and Support Engineer, and then you will be hearing from an in-use customer as well, Robert Howell, who's a jeweler at Howell & Howell Goldsmiths. B9Creations specializes in high-precision industrial and medical-grade additive manufacturing. We're a global provider of this technology in high-precision applications such as medical, aerospace, jewelry, model making, prototyping and manufacturing, and research. And you can see a sampling of the various customers we serve across those industries here. We are in around 70 countries worldwide, and we serve direct customers. We have a global dealer network, as well as a variety of OEM and strategic partners. You can see the variety here on this slide, and we're headquartered in South Dakota here in the United States. Now, for what you've all been waiting for, we're going to talk a little bit more about our brand new, larger format 3D printer, the 5 Series XL, as well as the larger format post-processing accessories that come with that. Our entire material suite and a new material that we formulated especially for the XL, as well as a deeper look at our fast technology and next generation CAM software, B9Create 2.0. Our XL solution has a build volume that's nearly 5 times larger than our current 530 and nearly double the size of our Core 550 and our Med 500. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Eric to share a little bit more in depth about this solution.
Thanks, Danny. Yeah, so like Danny said, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the new XL machines that you can see behind me here today. I think you saw on the previous slide there, but the biggest, no pun intended, thing we're going to be talking about is the increased build area or build volume of the new system. I have as an example here a side-by-side of our B9 Core 550, our previous largest model, and the new 5XL build volume. There's the size difference between the two right there. So if we talk just straight numbers here, I'm going to start off with the build area. So we're talking this flat spot right here, right? This was previously at 96 by 54 millimeters. The new model in this dimension is going to be the approximately 125 by 70 millimeters. And if we flip into the third dimension here and start talking volume, this is actually about a 70% increase over the previous Core 550 build volume. And I mean, you know, what does that get you? Well, if you're a jeweler, it gets you a lot of rings. It gets you more parts per print. And that's kind of what I'm going to talk about next, actually, is one of our core values is speed of our machines, right? And I'm gonna redefine this just a little bit. We're used to talking about speed in terms of millimeters per hour of a print, and I'm going to talk about it in terms of throughput. Okay, so the new 5XL machine is going to be slightly slower in the millimeters per hour category, but because of that increased volume, it's going to give you higher throughput. So you're going to be able to put more parts per print. That's going to give you efficiencies in post-processing, in print setup, because you're just doing you know, larger batches. You rather than doing a small batch and then cleaning and small batch and then cleaning, you're doing one big batch, which is equivalent to multiple small batches and cleaning one time. A couple new things that I wanted to make you aware of too. This new system does use a new vat or tray, whatever you want to call it, the part that holds the liquid photopolymer. It's got new electronics inside of it. It's got new mechanical components. And what that's going to enable us to do is we're going to have faster data processing, which is great for larger file sizes. The reason that's important, our fast technology, which we're going to talk about a little later on in the webinar. It does increase the fidelity to the CAD, which increases the file size. Also, just physically, we're larger now, right? So you can include more parts on a build table. More STLs equals larger file size. So we built that into this new system. We're also going to be, because of those other mechanical and bat changes, we're going to be a little bit more adaptable to advanced resin formulations and kind of more future-proofed in that direction. Next up, I'll talk a little bit about the different versions that you can get here. So what that's actually going to look like for you guys is a choice between 4 different machines. So I'm going to split it up like this. We'll have our XL machines and we'll have our Med XL machines. So the XL machines are kind of equivalent to what the 550, the 530, the old Core series that we know and love was in terms of a production machine. The Med machines are actually going to be medically certified devices. So the thought there is that you have a medically certified device using a medically certified resin to produce another medically certified device in most cases. And the whole point of this is to help you out on the regulatory side for when you're producing your end use medical application. The other 2 categories we're going to have here, we're going to have a 405 machine and a 385 machine. And what I mean by that is the wavelength of the light source. Our previous technology, the Core 550 and back even, used 405 nanometer wavelength light source, which is near UV. It's kind of deep blue. We're going to offer a 385 nanometer light source in these new XL machines. That's going to do a couple things for us. It's going to take us a little closer to being able to use those more advanced resin formulations. It's also going to be extremely useful for any of you out there who are interested in clear materials or in white materials. Any type of material that has experienced, would generally experience a Z-bleed situation, which is where light penetrates too far into the material while you're printing, or an XY bleed situation. Basically, any situation where the light and material interaction causes an undesired effect. This is going to really help out with customers who have struggled there in the past. And lastly, like Danny said in the previous slides, we do have a couple accessories that you can see behind me, completing the entire workflow solution. So we'll have the software, we'll have the printer, we'll have a cleaner that is sized appropriately for these new machines and their new build volume, and also a cure unit that'll also be appropriately sized and compliant with all of our best practices and recommendations for producing your end use parts repeatedly. I think that's all I have for now, so I'm going to kick it back to you, Danny.
Great, thanks for that overview, Eric. The nice thing too about this machine is while you're getting all of the benefits of a larger build volume, the external chassis is still very similar to our current technology. So you're not have to sacrifice space in your lab or office or your jewelry store to be able to get the larger build volume. What I'd love to do now is I'm going to share my screen, and I want to give you an opportunity to do a deep dive into our new patent pending fast technology. All right, whenever you're ready, Eric, I will let you share more about that.
Yeah, thanks. So our new fast technology, what is it? It's a new technology, proprietary technology from B9Creations that's going to, in a nutshell, enable better CAD fidelity. So what that's going to look like to you, the end user, is smoother surfaces on your parts, more accurate features, and no need to kind of make a sacrifice at the point of slice time at the very beginning of the whole process, right? So who's going to get that, and how does that look? It's going to come included with all 5XL purchases. So it doesn't matter if you're getting an XL, a Med, or a 405 or a 385. It's part of that purchase. It's part of what enables the high accuracy on that machine, along with the bigger build volume. Our current customers are also going to be able to purchase this, and that's going to take your existing Core 550, Core 530, and bring it up to the performance of a brand new machine. In some cases, better than a lot of competitive machines on the market today. And that's going to come wrapped in our new CAM software called B9Create 2.0 that we're going to talk about a little later in our webinar. Just while we're on this screen here, I think I'll talk about a few of the items that we have here. On the left is a pretty good illustration of how we're going to get better accuracy, print accuracy. You can see the image on the left, us printing with a grid of pixels using the DLP technology. We were restricted to having a pixel on or a pixel off, right? So if you're trying to draw a circle in there, if you look very closely between the two images on your bottom left screen, the circle on the right is actually slightly smaller than the circle on the left. And what our new fast technology is essentially doing is allowing us to use portions of a pixel rather than an entire pixel at a time. That'll achieve both a more round circle and a more accurate circle. And if I slide over to the image on the bottom right of your screen there, that print, I have one here for size comparison. It's that big, okay? So this is actually a good illustration of how this works in the Z direction. The previous discussion was talking about X, Y. So previously, because we were restricted to either having a pixel on or a pixel off, if you're printing a vertical wall that's slanted, so moving through pixel boundaries, you would climb, hit a boundary, shift over, climb again, and you wind up with this kind of stair-stepped look on the side. You can kind of see that on the zoomed in photo. If you slide over to the one created with fast, now that we're actually able to use portions of that pixel on the way up, it results in a much smoother Z-facing surface as well. And I think we have a few more examples if you want to flip to the next slide, Danny. Okay, so the example on the top here, this is actually a fluid flow device used for medical purposes. It's printed in our bio red material, which is a translucent material. So we tried the image on the left there. We tried this without fast. We tried multiple different orientations. You know, all the tricks in the book trying to get this little channel in the middle to turn out. If you notice, if you look closely, those two images are actually oriented differently because this is the best we got without fast. That little channel in the center that connects the two larger cavities, that's a 200 micron channel. So that's, to bring that into perspective, that's about 2 or 3 human hairs, depending on what human we're talking about. And this customer, it was very important, not only that the feature, you know, turn out as some people would define it, you know, hey, I can see that it's there, it turned out, right? No, it had to be there, and it had to be the right size. And there was no way to do this without using our fast technology. Down below, maybe a more practical example for some of our previous users. This is straight from one of our jewelry customers. As you step through the original slice method to the surface finish slice method to the fast method, I'll kind of illustrate a few of the differences here. They're a little bit difficult to see on an image. I mean, we would much rather show you these in person, but here we are in the age of social distancing, so I'll give it my best shot. The one on the left with the original slice method, if you look at the top of the band, we see something very similar to what we saw on the kind of pyramid shaped parts from the previous slide. you'll start to see stair stepping where that band starts to curve off towards the center. If you move over to the surface finish part in the middle, you can actually see that that's a much smoother transition. But there's a support that goes from the band to the heart, and you can see that that's a little bit eroded. One of the unfortunate side effects of our surface finish previously in our currently released version of Create was that you would lose a slight amount of dimensional accuracy, as well as a pretty dramatically increased slice time. And in this case, with the support being that small, it actually eroded it away to nearly nothing. Another non-tangible from an image here is actually the fitment of the stones. So with the surface finish, the fitment of the stones would be just a little bit off. A lot of our customers said, you know what, I'll adjust the fitment as long as I get less post-processing out of this. I will gladly take that. And a lot of people were really happy with that. Moving over to the fast sliced part on the far right, you'll see that support is fully formed. You can't tell this, but those stones will fit in that part exactly like you wanted them to. We have the same nice surface finish all over. The biggest headache for these parts, if you're not familiar with the process, is that these are lost wax casted. In other words, turned into metal. And when you make that transfer, you then have to take all those little stair steps that were in the print. You got to take those out of your metal part at the end so you can get a nice polish and finish on the ring. And not having to spend that much time cleaning up each model is absolutely worth it. And that's really the whole benefit of fast, is saving you time and doing the impossible. I'll go ahead and kick it back to you, Danny.
Thanks, Eric. That was great. It's pretty exciting to see that you can get smoothness on a shank of a ring, as well as the accuracy gains, whether you're dealing with a small channel in the medical space or making sure that you have prongs with seamless fit settings. You know, we love to share information about our technology. We're fired up about it. I work with a bunch of engineers, but we thought it might be way more impactful if you heard from a customer themselves. So I'm going to give you an opportunity to hear from Robert Howell. He is one of our XL customers, and he sat down with Rachel, who's a B9 team member, and I'll let you hear directly from him.
To start out, how about you introduce yourself and your business and tell us a little bit about your background as a jeweler.
Okay. First of all, I have been a jeweler for nearly 40 years. And back in the old days when we used to have to carve everything or hand fabricate, and so 3D printing has been just a godsend, in my opinion, to the small jeweler and high production jewelers also. I used to run a factory where we manufactured thousands of pieces a day by casting, so I have an extensive background in casting, and I've been casting B9 resin since the original resins.
Why did you buy the B9 Core 5 Series XL? What solution did it provide for your business?
Well, there's more than one reason why I purchased, and I need to preface it a little bit by telling you why I felt like I had to buy. And it's because every time something new comes out, whether it's software, firmware, or a new product, my phone starts ringing. And emails, because I've been so active on the forum. I think I got 6,000 or 7,000 posts on the forum since it started. Wow. And there's a lot of people that I've helped over the years, and some not in the U.S., China, and I mean, I get phone calls from everywhere at one time, Australia, around. And so I get people asking me questions about the new products, what I think about them, because they want to talk to an end user, not a salesperson. And so it's important to them to find out what I think as a person who's using the product every day in my shop creating jewelry. So I need to have every piece of equipment that B9 offers so that I can be familiar with it and offer my honest opinion about the product. So that's one of the first reasons I decided I had to buy. Other reason is because I do some large production and 50 pieces and more at times. And so I wanted the capability to be able to print larger volumes.
Awesome.
I also have do some service work for clients who don't own printers, and I just wanted more capabilities as far as volume. I happen to love the fast slicing now, and the smoothing is insane. The cleanup is going to be a game changer for a lot of people once they realize, even on upgrading their 530s to 550s and the new 2.0 software, they're going to see a vast improvement in the quality of the prints as far as smoothness, and it's going to make a huge difference in cleanup, time saving, and as far as after you cast.
For you, what is your most important criteria for choosing a machine? Is it speed, resolution, castable materials, or something different?
The two things that were the most important for a small shop is price, castable resin, and resolution and quality of the print. That was all I cared about when I was looking around.
Do you have any projects in the work that you're planning on leveraging the XL for?
Yeah, I've got a project to do multiples of 50, and actually some medallions and things. I do award pieces, and I've got an order for. I actually do one for some fighter pilots, which I produce charms and pendants for their wives and people here at an air base in South Carolina. I got to do another 50-piece order for them, and I've got a large order for a group of attorneys that I have to do a bunch of ladder pins and things like that. And it's just going to be nice to be able to print a lot of volume at one time, and also avoid all the cleanup issues I've had with some of the geometry that I use. There's hard places to get to, and cleanup takes time. And I'm looking forward to not having that issue.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
No, it's a huge difference. I actually just finished a project for a customer maybe just about 5 days ago. And I had finally gotten my 2.0 beta working, and I reprinted some of the pieces I had just finished, and the difference was amazing as far as smoothness and cleanup issues and all that. So
yeah,
I wish I had it a year ago. The fast slicing and all that, because I had avoided using the slicing for smoothness because of the time involved. And would just suffer and just go on and print with the stepping and do orientation and things to avoid as much as possible, but still clean up. Yeah.
And I know you spoke on this a little already, but how has your experience been with B9Creations?
The company?
Yeah, with our company here.
It's one of the best experiences I've ever had with anyone, as far as support, people that listen to your needs, speed of solving issues with crisis problems or repairs, or I've never had a down day with my B9.
Can you share a real part that you've leveraged our new fast technology and B9Create 2.0 beta version that showed improvement on your pieces?
Engagement rings. I did 2 recently. I just finished, and I reprinted after I'd already cast and set those pieces. And had I had the fast technology when I did those pieces, I would have probably saved myself 2 or 3 hours just in cleanup.
Yeah, that's great.
That's the biggest difference, just to clean up. Because you don't have all the layering, you don't have all the stepping lines to deal with. And in small, hard to get to areas, it's a pain. And but no, that's been it. The engagement rings I've just finished, every one of them would have been a time saver had I sliced with the fast technology.
Awesome. Well, I think those are all the questions I have for you.
So it was great to hear from an actual end user. I couldn't have said it better than Robert. Sometimes that's who you want to talk to, not a sales rep, to get a true feel for what that customer experience is like. We're going to pivot here a little bit. We went over the hardware and the accessories that enable your additive workflow, and I want to take a moment to do a deep dive into the B9Create 2.0 software. Eric sat down and actually recorded a demo of it so you could get a look at the highlighted features as well as what it can do for your 3D printing technology.
All right, I'm going to show you a few features inside our new B9Create 2.0 software using fast technology. This technology enables up to 25 micron resolution on our new XL printers. First thing I'm going to do here is import a file. We have a new importing screen here. Done. All right. Let's take a closer look. First thing you'll notice is that there's these areas that are highlighted in yellow. That yellow is actually what we call the auto support area, or highlighter, rather. This can be tuned via the menu on the right. What we're doing here is giving a visual indication of where supports would need to be placed based on the angle from the build table. So given this model here, I think I would probably put it at 45 degrees. I'm also going to do a quick translation in the Z direction because I want this to print up higher off of the build table. All right, and I wanted to show you, if I enter my support mode here, I wanted to show you a new feature that we have called support mirroring. So I'm going to support this as I normally would by adding a few supports to the center here. There, what we'll do for purposes of our demo. So with the mirroring turned on, what I can actually do is add my supports just on one side, and I will get a completely symmetrical support on the other side. This works for interior parts as well. So this cuts down for your symmetrical parts like rings, even more into the industrial pieces. This is really going to cut down your the amount of time you spend manually supporting parts by half, which is pretty cool. All right, another thing I can show you here, we have new sectioning tools off to the side. These allow you to get kind of up close and personal with your parts. Say you had maybe it was a little difficult for you to see what was going on the inside of this part. You can just hide half the part and go ahead and add these supports. And once I bring this sectioning back out, your supports have been added there. All right. We do still have the ability to edit supports. You can grab bases and slide them around. I mentioned earlier that you can put supports in the highlight zone. You can also grab those tips and move them outside of the highlight zone if you so choose to do that. The highlighter is there just for you to use as a guideline. For, you know, mathematically speaking, this area is more likely to need a support. Another thing I can show you here real fast is our duplication. So let's say I've got this part to where I like it. I want to produce 5 of them. All I need to do is hit that duplicate button and I'm going to get an exact copy. And I can do that again and again until I have reached the number of parts that I want. Kind of going to transition here a little bit and show you a few other features. Let me import a little bit larger part, a little bit more industrial piece here. All right, so just like before, we have the yellow highlight area. For this part, I'm actually going to tune that back just a little bit. I can get rid of some of I know right here based on this angle, that the material that I want to print this in, which by the way is our rugged material, I will be able to get away with having no supports down here just fine. So I'm going to dial that back just a little bit, 35 degrees-ish should work. As I go to add supports here, I'm going to show you some of our new auto supporting. So what I'm going to do is actually create my own custom auto support. I've already got a name here, but I can actually save this out and use it again on future parts like this. I have a few options to tune what I like here. What I'm going to do is go ahead and auto support the part, and that's going to give me kind of a preview of what my options here on the right are giving me. Bear with me just a second while that loads. There we go. All right, so what I've actually used here, and I'll go to the bottom view so you can kind of see, these parts are laid out very symmetrically. I've used our new grid supports to achieve this. They give the bottom of your part, if you have a big flat area that needs support like this part has, they give the bottom of your part a really nice finish. You'll still have some support scars from where the supports were, but you're going to be you're going to have a lot more fidelity to your original file, and it's going to feel a lot more uniform, rather than if I had to come in here and manually place each one of these. You would kind of wind up with a very variable result. And the nice thing is, with our new template, I'll be able to just save this and duplicate it later. So there. Next thing I can show you is the new slicing. So if I've got my part all supported here, I can go ahead and save that out. Our new slicing, you may have seen our previous generation in Create 1.0, which we've now started calling it retrospectively. You may have seen our surface finish option. It created a very nice surface finish, but the unfortunate downside of that technology was an increased slice time. Now with fast, you actually have the benefits of fast slicing and the benefits of the surface finish and dimensional accuracy all piled up in one. So our new our new slicing is actually showing you layer by layer how the part is going to be built. I actually find this kind of useful as a way to visualize my part being made. You can see we're already 23% here. With a part that takes up the entire build area like this, and as many supports as we have here, using our old surface finish technology, this slicing would probably take hours, somewhere in that range. And we're going to be done here in just a matter of minutes, which is pretty cool. While this is going on, I'm going to go ahead and mention too, we talked about the auto support and how you could save out your kind of scheme for auto supporting. You can actually save out more than that in our new software. You'll have the ability to create part templates, which will save your auto supports as well. It'll save your auto supporting angle. It'll save your rotations, like if your part needed to come in, turned, or if you needed to raise everything up in the Z, it'll save those for you as well, so that all you have to do on a new file import is actually select your part template, and it'll orient the part for you in space, and then hit auto support. It'll auto support the part for you, and you'll be able to go directly to slicing in a matter of minutes if you're producing a bunch of parts that are very close, geometry-wise to each other. Okay, so we're done slicing here. That took only a few minutes. The next thing I'm going to show you here is the ability to add the part to your printer. I've already got a printer selected. I can choose from any in this list as long as they are the correct printer type that I've sliced for. All I need to do to add this project is click the little blue button once I've selected my library here. So that's going real quick. I'm going to show you a few more features inside the software here just as soon as this is done loading. Bear with me just a second here. as that's finalizing, here's one more thing I can talk to you about. Our old software actually had this feature too, and we carried it over into this new software. The print queue actually gives you the ability to line up prints in the order that you want them to be printed, so that you can have a printer manager actually managing, at a high level, what project needs to be done first, and in what order things need to be done. And then out on the printer, you can have a completely separate person, maybe a manufacturing person, some sort of printer operator, full-time printer operator, just running through that list in the order that it needs to be done in. And that's really convenient for them. They don't have to select their materials. They don't have to select the file that needs to be printed. They don't have to select the slice thickness. That's already been pre-chosen. And all they have to do is hit go and pull the print out when it's done. All right, so once I've got my file uploaded here, I'm essentially done. I just need to go press start on the printer. So what I'm going to show you next, I'm actually going to clear the slices, which I've done off camera here. I'm going to open up the printer and I'm going to show you some of the printer dashboard features that we've included. This is going to be really nice for managers, for business owners. It's going to be a nice way to kind of track some of the work you've been doing. So inside each of the printers here, we actually have the history of the prints. We have traceability through what firmware was the print printed using, what material setting was used to print those, at what quality level were they done, average speed of the print, total layers, things like that, slice type. This is going to be really nice to kind of keep track of what you're doing day to day. We also have the ability to export those as a CSV format. So you'll be able to take all of this data, import it into Excel, and do all sorts of number crunching. A lot easier than you were able to do it before. That would have been a very manual process before. So that's something that we're kind of pretty proud of. Next up, I want to just let you know, make you aware that this is here. We have a new workflow mode. All right, to show you the workflow mode real quick, I'm going to start a new project. All right. Change over to workflow mode. All right, workflow mode is intended for new users. Maybe you're new to 3D printing, new to the layout part of 3D printing. What we're trying to do with this is instill in you the right methodologies for laying out your part. So I'm going to grab the ring we used earlier. Import that. Okay, and what workflow mode is going to do is kind of restrict you to certain steps of the process at a certain point in time. So the first thing, step number one, is obviously import your part, right? So if I hit next step, I'm going to get to the point where I need to orient my part. So in this case, I would bring it up in the Z direction. Next, I would support my part. I can use a custom support configuration that I've used previously, or I can go in and manually add my supports, kind of the old way. Once I'm done with that, I slice my print. Those are kind of the order that we want you to go through in order to be successful in your printing. Also wanted to mention that we have some new help menus that will actually include videos and some really good text. If you ever do get stuck, those will be throughout the software as well. Thank you for hanging in there with me on this. If you need any more info, go to b9c.com/new.
So it was a great overview of the software. You know, we talk a lot at B9 about the hidden costs of 3D printing, and it tends to be on either side of the actual printing process, the print preparation software or the post-processing. And so we've been very intentional about making sure the entire workflow is streamlined, fast, and efficient. So whatever gains you have in print speed, you're not losing on either end. And I think things like that mirroring support, like your part template library, should hopefully be really illustrative examples of how we can improve your workflow. The other part of any additive manufacturing solution is obviously the material suite. So I'd like to turn it over to Cody. He's going to share with you our newest resin that's engineered for the XL printer, and then give you an overview of our entire material suite. Cody, please.
All right, thanks, Danny. Well, I've got some really exciting stuff to show you. I've had the pleasure of getting the chance to work on the 5XL resin settings the past couple months here. And I got to say, we've got a really cool resin to show you. So without further ado, I'm gonna show you this. So, all right, I'm sure many of you are familiar with our standard sample print there. Looks normal and looks good. This is done in our 5XL, so a little larger build area there. But then, have you ever seen them do this? This is the new silicone resin that we're very excited to be releasing here soon. Everything's nice and flexible and kind of bendy. So that's really exciting stuff here. I'll kind of show some more usable parts that we've reprinted on this. We've done bike grips. So as you can see, it's very flexible, but returns and retains its shape. I'm very impressed with this resin in terms of its printability. It's got very good Z-bleed resistance. That means it's not getting any excess material that you don't want in there. It comes out very accurately, surprisingly, based on the flexibility of it all, right? Another use part, and this goes into the two different types we're selling for this. We've got basic silicone where you're going to go into more engineering based stuff, and then we have the medical silicone. So that's going to be the like heart valves and medical pieces like that. And again, like fine surface quality and just really printing really well. I'm very excited for it. In terms of some features for it, or the properties of the material, as you can already see, it's very flexible. Yeah, low Z bleed. We're printing this one in 100 micron slice thicknesses, so about the same as rugged. It's a very ductile material, so it kind of can stretch and retain its shape afterwards. In terms of the toughness as well, it's got a Shore durometer of 60, so that's pretty impressive for some of these resins. We're used to dealing with harder resins, right? But this one's pretty flexible. So very excited for that. Danny, if you wouldn't mind changing to the next slide, I can talk more about the full suite there.
Absolutely. Give me a second here and I will share my screen.
Perfect. All right. So as you can see here, we've got our design material suite, still good with gray resin, black resin, and HD slate there. And all the ones that you're seeing on the screen are going to be available in our 5XLs, but of course the different versions matter there. Then we have our engineering material suite there, the rugged and silicone, or rugged nylon 6 and the silicone there. These are also our new resilient materials is what we're calling them. So more flexible and more tough resins there. Then we have our casting resin still available. So emerald and yellow will be there. And our bio resins in terms of our white and red resins will be there for our medical printers. We also have quite a few in the up and coming in terms of different materials. So keep your eyes wide open for that. Eyes peeled to check out what's coming new. And I can just say, like, things are looking really good on the printing side of things, and we're excited to see what you all think of it. So thanks for joining me on this end. Danny, back to you, I think.
Thanks, Cody. That was a great overview. I'm going to go ahead and switch here, and before we transition into our Q&A, I'd like to let you know that if you want any information about the new XL printer and any of its versions, software, fast technology, materials, even if you want to request a sample on the new XL, if you go to b9c.com/new, you'll be able to access all of that there. I'm going to also launch a poll, And this is just going to let us be able to meet your needs. So go ahead and express if you want any interest right now on our various products. And with that, I think we'll transition to the Q&A. It looks like we do have our first question. This is related to the software. So Eric, I'll maybe let you field this. Can you use spheres at the support touch points?
Yeah, so I think this is in reference to the support scarring that I mentioned in the demo. We will not, for IP reasons, be able to use spheres at the point of contact, but we will have various other methods of kind of mitigating those support scars. One of them that we've had since the beginning is being able to change the penetration depth, which effectively changes the size of the contact patch between the support and the part being printed.
Great, thanks for that. We had another question related to print speeds. I can tell you, and I think Eric touched on this too, about the comparability to our existing technology, but potentially some difference in speed just based on volume. Would you address that? And then I'll kick over our next question.
Yeah. So like I mentioned, there will probably be a reduced speed by some factor in the millimeters per hour type of definition of speed. If you are somebody that's doing single part prints, or maybe your part takes up the whole build volume, you know that type of situation, you're not going to notice a crazy increase in your part times. We're not talking 10 times longer print times here. So it's still going to be extremely valuable for the customers that are using it for one piece flow or single piece flow. While at the same time, I think we're gonna strike kind of a sweet spot in between that single piece flow and large batch.
Thank you. We have some others coming in. I am going to address, it looks like we have a question on price. So what I'll tell you right now is we are in a pre-order promotional price for the XL. So it'll only be a couple thousand more than our current technology. Of course, that will change once we launch to full shipping. But if you either respond to the poll, go to b9c.com/new or info@b9c.com if you prefer email, we'll connect you with a solutions representative and they'll be able to walk through what that package looks like. We also have a question about, can we group parts and then position and rotate them as a group instead of individually in the software? I'll kick that over to Eric, maybe.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, that's a feature that we have in the the current version of Create, where you can select multiple models and then move them as a group, and that is something that we will retain in the new Create 2.0.
Thanks, Eric. This is regarding transferring print files from the software to the printer. Could you share the different ways that we can do that?
Yep, you'll be able to still transfer via USB drive. If you don't have your printer on the network, that's a really reliable way to get your files from one place to another. The other is much like the Core 5 series machines. You'll be able to transfer it via the network, whether that be a internet connected network or just your local network, through the B9Create software.
Yeah, that's great. So all the functionality, USB, Ethernet, Wi-Fi, you'll retain on this XL as well. We have another software question. Will the supports follow the model if you move it?
Yes. So after supporting, that we do still retain that option. If you do support your part and you've got it how you want it, but maybe one support's a little too close to a wall, or the way parts are fitting next to each other, it'd be good if you just clocked them a little bit differently. You will be able to spin your part. The other thing that you'll be able to do after supporting is actually change the Z height. So if you got your part just a little bit too low and you don't have room for supports, you'll still be able to move up in the Z to give yourself a little more room, and those supports will stretch for you to do that.
Okay. We also have a question related to the two different wavelength printer options. Could you just go through advantages, disadvantages, kind of a comparison between the 385 and the 405?
Yeah, for sure. The 405, like I said, is kind of our legacy way of doing things. Industry-wide, the 405 nanometer resins are probably more widespread, I would say. They're easier to access. Our system is still open to third-party materials. So if you want just a really, broad ability to print things, 405 is going to be a good choice for you. For 385 materials, kind of like I mentioned in the webinar, that's pointed at people who want some more specific applications out of their printer, right? I have to have a clear material, and it's got to have more dimensional accuracy than you can produce today, or I want my material to be white. So one of the technical problems with a 405 nanometer light source is that it's in the visible range. It's in the range that people can see. And in order to block that, we have to use another color that people can see, which is yellow. And unfortunately, for white materials, if you add a little bit of yellow in there, you no longer have a pure white. It turns kind of eggshell colored or off-white, all the way to a brown in some cases for materials that exhibit this really poorly. So that would be the major draw to a 385 light source machine.
Thank you. Yeah, part of that responsiveness to customer needs is trying to offer as much customization as we can. So that's why we came out with a couple different options. I will share that in terms of delivery, the 405 will come out before the 385. So if that's a expediency of delivery is a concern for you, that would be another advantage of the comparison of the 405 to the 385. We also have a question about software upgrade cost and when. That's a great question. That will be available this summer, and it will be just a one-time upgrade fee for a very affordable amount. So our desire is not to suddenly get into the extortion business. It's really just because that software is actually bundled with machine hardware upgrade. So you're able to get 2.0 plus the fast technology that's going to make your machine state-of-the-art again. And we have another software question. Can you add supports to other supports?
Yeah, actually, that's one thing I failed to show in the demo that I should have now, looking back on things. But we actually have a new feature called a support bar. And while that is an item that does go from model to model, in other words, if you had I'll just use dental as an example, the horseshoe shape of a mouth, to connect the molars in the back, you can put a support bar in between those teeth. The support bars are actually supportable, so you can support that, and using that methodology, you can actually draw supports to other supports.
Thanks. And I'll just add for clarity, by affordable on software, a couple $100, not $10,000, just to help tee it up. I don't know if do we have any other questions? It's looking like we're not, which is great because we're actually wrapping up on time. Oh, hang on. I spoke too soon. We have one question here. Okay, this is about the changes to the post-processing units, the clean and cure. Eric, could you not only share the differences as they relate to the XL, but also we'll have a path for existing clean owners to be able to upgrade their existing clean unit. Could you touch on both those points? Yeah, absolutely. So the main difference on the clean unit here is actually an internal component. So if you already own a clean, this is going to be something that's upgradable to you simply by purchasing a new container. All we're going to be doing is we're going to start selling this clean unit with a larger volume on the inside. Absolutely nothing changes about how much isopropyl you put in or any of the value proposition of the B9 Clean in the first place. We just made more room for a bigger part to fit inside. The cure unit is going to be another example of that. We just grew it so it fits. Yeah, and what's nice about that too is not just if you're using our technology, but because it's bigger, it fits a variety of different types of print envelopes. This is a software question, so I'll kick it over to you again, Eric. Can you rotate the peel support, or are there more options?
We do have multiple options for foundations. The foundation will rotate with the part if that's what you're asking. So after the part is supported and you have everything kind of laid out, and maybe your foundation is hanging off of the build area a little bit or something like that, you can absolutely turn that. The new kind of basic foundation actually has a very slight chamfer on the sides. So our basic foundation is now a peel foundation versus the old peel foundation that we're kind of used to, that had these very large scoops coming up on the side. And yes, you can move a part around in the X and the Y. In other words, sliding it after it has been supported already.
Yeah, the nice thing about those new foundations is they're silhouette too. So they form the shape of your model, which is great because it helps you save resin. It looks like that are all the questions right now. I'd encourage you guys, again, if you have other questions, they didn't get answered, you want to have a more in-depth conversation about your application and what would be the best technology for you, please feel free to go to b9c.com/new. If you call us, real people answer. So go ahead at 605-787-0652. And then of course, feel free to email us at any time at info@b9c.com. Thank you for joining us all. We'll make sure to send this out as well if you want to rewatch it or forward it. And we'll also be doing this again tomorrow if you know anyone else that would like to attend, and that will be at 8 a.m. Mountain Time. And with that, I'll thank our guest panelists as well.